Ladies and gentlemen, if you are to take a critical look at the 2022 presidential elections results in Kenya, one thing will definitely shock you: the low turnout in ODM strongholds. Again, if you are to dig deeper into those results, you'll realize that the difference, according to IBC, between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, despite massive rigging, was only 230,000. Which means, if, for example, Raila Odinga was able to get additional 300,000 votes from his strongholds, then there was no way William Ruto was going to be declared the president of the Republic of Kenya. But shockingly, in Nyanza alone, which is Raila Odinga's stronghold, over 700,000 people did not turn up to vote. 700,000. Which means if only half of those people were convinced to turn up on the election day, Raila Odinga probably would be the president of the Republic of Kenya today. But there's one fact that William Ruto understood, that the 2022 presidential elections was going to be determined by the turnout. For Azimio, they needed high turnout in their strongholds, that is Luo Nyanza, coastal region, Western Kenya, and of course in Ukambani. William Ruto understood that for him to succeed even in his schemes, he needed to suppress the turnout in ODM strongholds. And that can explain why he conspired with Wafula Chebukati to suspend the gubernatorial elections in two ODM strongholds, that is Mombasa County and Kakamega County. And of course, if you look at the turnout in Ukambani, it was also suppressed. So Raila Odinga is now coming up with a strategy of trying to cure that voter low turnout. And the only way to do that is to deal with the voter apathy, especially in Nyanza. What really caused voter apathy in Nyanza? The truth of the matter is that it was caused by the botched ODM nominations. After that botched ODM nominations, for example, in Nyanza, almost all members of parliament from Luo Nyanza were given direct tickets, the former sitting members of parliament. Some of these sitting members of parliament had become very unpopular, and they had very strong opponents on the ground. So the moment they were given the direct ticket, their supporters felt, the supporters of those who failed to secure the certificate felt that that's not the right way, that's not the way to go. So they just decided, for us, we don't see any reason as to why we are going to vote.
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Malaki Odava Odwoli, MCA aspirant wa Bunyala North Ward, kijana super. Hiyo ndio jina ile inajulikana huko kwa ground. Na mimi nimefurahishwa kabisa leo na mkutano huu ambao umefanyika hapa kwa ODM offices na team ya NEC ya ODM kutoka Nairobi. Kwa nafasi yangu kama pia coordinator wa Young Aspirants Kenya kule Bunyala Sub County, tumepata uhakikisho kama vijana ya kwamba the next primaries zitakuwa free and fair, na vijana wote watapata nafasi. Kwa hivyo tunataka tuwapatie motisha ya kwamba wajitume na tuhakikishe ya kwamba safari hii tunawakilishwa kisawasawa kwa mambo ya uongozi. Na hivyo ndio tutaweza pia kutengeneza future yetu katika mambo ya uongozi, kwa sababu sisi ndio tutashikilia hatamu za uongozi.
So Raila Odinga is now trying to revamp the ODM NEB. So in this video, I want to try and explain to you guys what has forced Raila Odinga to try and revamp the ODM elections board. Because remember, even ahead of the 2022 elections, the ODM NEB was reshuffled again. Raila Odinga kicked out the Pareno-led elections board at that time. Then he appointed the Muma-led group that actually conducted one of the worst ODM nominations in the country.
The members resolved as follows. Number one, the National Executive Committee wishes to thank the members of the task force and members of the party who gave feedback on the observations and recommendations, including our county chairs and women leaders. We have adopted and shall faithfully implement the recommendations of the task force, including but not limited to the following. Number one, on party primaries and nominations, which has been a most contentious issue within the party, the National Executive Committee has resolved that the party shall employ universal suffrage, electoral colleges, consensus, and direct tickets that are backed by scientific processes as the 4 ways of identifying candidates at all future elections as the circumstances in every region may demand. Number two, the National Elections Board shall be revamped and better resourced in order to enhance its capacity to deliver free, fair, and credible party elections.
And again, if you look at the numbers, because numbers don't lie, in 2007, ODM as a political party actually had 99 members of parliament elected. That number has been going down, and of course, in the last election, ODM had 85 elected members of parliament. And of course, it was a bit of improvement from the 2017 election. But again, in general, if you compare the 85, because UD as a political party had 137, if you compare, then it means ODM party lost the majority. It has always been the dominant political party, single political party in parliament. So why do you think Raila Odinga is not trying to revamp the ODM elections board? And will he succeed? For me, if MoMA Group did not succeed, it's going to be a tall order for ODM to conduct a free and fair election. And if that's not going to happen, if elections will not be conducted in a free and fair manner, perceptionally, you see, you can rig elections, but perceptionally, the people who are participating in it are convinced that the elections were free and fair, then that's good. But you can't just have a situation where you give all members of parliament direct ticket and expect their voters who don't want them to turn up and vote for them. So I want to explain to you guys why Raila is trying to do that. But before you do that, in case you are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let us dive in. But before we dive in, I want to introduce a subscriber on this channel who is now producing songs, and I really love the songs. You can check in the comments there. I think the first comment I'll tag the songs so that you can also promote him. I want to ask you, just listen to the song, then go and drop your comment there. Ladies and gentlemen, why do you think ODM as a political party is now trying to revamp the election spot? Number one is to try and attract as many aspirants to the party as possible. The truth of the matter is that if something will not be done, and I want you to take this to the bank, ODM will attract the least number of aspirants from their strongholds. Why am I saying this? I am saying this because if, for example, in the last election, all members of parliament from Nyanza were given direct ticket, do you think the opponents will put their money in that ticket? Now, you go to Kakamega County, for example. Of course, for this time around, ODM swept Kakamega County in terms of MPs, but all those MPs were given direct ticket. What about their opponents? Some were actually very popular also.
Elections, there are a lot of complaints about nominations. But if you want to know that we respect the party structures, if I had the power as a party leader to make a change, Jakoyo and Dr. Uhuru Kenyatta would be in parliament. But because through the nomination process, they lost, and then they appealed, and they also lost their appeal process, there's no way in which I could impose them as candidates of the ODM. But we also know that there were actually mistakes in the process. So in order to correct those mistakes, we set up a task force immediately after the elections, headed by Madam Catherine Muma. That team came up with proper findings. What went wrong? We now know what went wrong during the nominations. And we've said we don't want, never again do we want to see a repeat of what happened that time. So we have said that going forward we are going to implement the recommendations that are contained in Catherine Muma's report.
You go to coastal region, then it's the same story. So the only way to attract aspirants to the party is to convince them that they are going to be subjected to a free, fair elections. So that if, for example, I want to contest in Nyakache or in Kisumu Central, for example, then I invest, you guys fund me in the hope that if I win, I'll win. If I lose, I lose. But that's going to be very difficult because despite the fact that Pareno team was accused, Kwach team was accused, now Muma team, which was expected to deliver, was even worse, then majority of people will fear investing in ODM party. So most of them will say, okay, let us try independent or let us still wait and see how things are going to turn out. And without high number of aspirants, elections cannot be sweet. Because if you have, for example, in my constituency, if say we will be 10 people contesting, then all of us going across, we have our supporters, we encourage them to turn up, we encourage them to register to vote, then that's normally what leads to high turnout. So that's something that is worrying Raila Odinga. If the party will not be able to attract high number of aspirants, then there's going to be a problem. Number two, I also tend to think that Raila Odinga is now planning to fix the ODM reward system. ODM party has one of the worst reward system ever. And it is actually caused by the NEB. I remember when that lady, what was the name of that lady? Cheboni. The lady who was nominated as a senator in 2017. That time I was participating in ODM elections fully. I mean, in the campaigns. I never saw that lady with my eyes during the campaigns. But she was nominated because Olga Karani was a member of the ODM elections NEB. So she was able to sneak her name late hours because Raila Odinga was also listening to Olga Karani. And if you look at the way Olga Karani, for example, at that time, because at that time I had a lot of interest in these things, in Nakuru County, she just picked people from nowhere at the expense, to nominate at the expense of those who have stood with ODM party. If you look at ODM, for example, right now, there are people in Nyanza who are now trying to defend the party, trying to campaign for Raila Odinga, trying to defend the party. Then when the nominations will come, names will just emerge from nowhere. Names you don't even see, names you've not heard. And that reward system is what is causing this apathy. So to fix the reward system, Raila Odinga is now trying to come up with a new team, and that new team will be forced to come up with a process of rewarding party members. Of course, people will always, like, for example, if I'm a member of NEB, there's a chance that I'll try to bring maybe a relative here, maybe a friend, like, for example, if you're my friend and you come from Wajir, and there's a chance there, I can easily do that, despite that. But now, as long as it's a bit fair, it seems to be fair, then it's good to go. Number three, I think Raila Odinga is also keen on voter turnout in 2027, because now they have realized that voter turnout is significant. In the last election, Azimio believed that the voter turnout in the mountain was going to be low. And of course, with the rigging, it went up. Of course, on the elections day, the lines in the mountain was terrible. But William Ruto knew what he was doing, so he engineered a campaign in Ukambani so that people don't turn up. that Kalonzo alikuwa amechezwa, alikuwa frustratiwa sana. So, Kambani, the turnout was suppressed. Then you come to Nyanza, because of those ODM nominations, blah, blah, people were generally just not happy. And of course, there was this story that Raila Odinga is going to win. So, there were those who were just happy. I mean, who were just unhappy because their people were never given a chance to actually contest during the nominations. By conducting a proper nominations, which can only be done by the NEB. For me, there's something that I've always advocated for in ODM party. Though I'm nowadays not really an ODM member. But for me, I've always believed that ODM as a political party can actually give direct ticket to the members. But when you allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry to apply for the nominations, to participate, and then you deny them the chance, that becomes a problem. And that's how we find ODM, you find people getting the ticket because they have the money, then after that they disappear, just because they were given a level playing field. For example, in Kisumu, I'm sure if Ayesh Oluweny was the senator, he would not have gone to State House. But Ojinda came with the money last minute, and there was no way ODM was going to stop him because they pocketed the nomination money, then allow him to go to the campaigns. If our ODM party, people like those, you'd question them. You let them just win, but on another party. Let them win independent or other party. But as long as you just allow them, turnout will be low and you'll be disappointed. Number 4, I also tend to think that Raila Odinga is now looking at the post-2027 election. Raila Odinga is avoiding the mistake that Uhuru Kenyatta committed. There was no way Uhuru Kenyatta, despite the fact that he lost the presidential election, if I were Uhuru Kenyatta, in Kiambu, I would have 3 members of parliament. In Murang'a, I would have 2. In Kirinyaga, I would have 2. In Nyeri, I would definitely have 1. Loyal elected on Jubilee ticket. Even if the people down there would have voted for Ruto, I would have done that. Uhuru today is powerless because he doesn't have MPs. Raila Odinga is keen on having members of parliament, enough members of parliament, so that even if he's not a presidential candidate, then he will have the numbers. The ODM party will still be there. And lastly, numbers is also something that is needed. For ODM to continue surviving, it needs the numbers. And those numbers will count when the political party's fund will be distributed. And with the political party's funds in place, a party can still exist. In fact, the only reason why ODM is still existing is because it normally qualifies for the political party's funds. If it didn't qualify for the political party's funds, funding the activities of ODM party would be a hell for ODM and for Raila Odinga, especially if or when they are out of power. I don't know what you think. Do you think the move to revamp ODM party, to revamp the ODM National Elections Board by Raila Odinga is going to succeed? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you, and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.